Hi, Gary Whiting here. Truth Education Part 2. Back about 2002, I received an email from a university, and they were asking me what my credentials were. They looked at my accomplishments, they liked them, and they saw my background working with world class athletes, and they saw some of my papers that I had put up on my website, things I had written, and studies I had done. And they asked me if I had a degree, and of course I said, well, no, I don't. And they go, well, you need to have a degree. You've earned a degree. And so they kind of informed me that they were a university that looked at life skills. And so I went ahead and I said, well, that would be nice to be recognized for my achievement and my accomplishments. I mean, we're all kind of in that mindset, those things that recognize us for what we've done in life. It's just nice to have something that there's a record of what you've done. So I paid my $900 or whatever it was, and in came this packet. So I opened it up, and here they had given me a master's in business of administration because I had run a successful business, and they gave me a doctorate in original research in the field of holistic studies. Well, I'm feeling pretty good about this, and I go, wow, this is like really great, and I had to kind of pinch myself a little bit. Well, my wife at the time burst my bubble. She said, Gary, that's a fake degree. I go, what do you mean a fake degree? She says, it's a paper mill. I said, what are paper mills? And she said, well, there are people out there that come up with fake certificates. I said, oh, okay. So I said, well, I don't want to be involved with that. So I just put it away and filed it. I didn't think anything of it. I thought, well, that's $900 wasted. Well, that got me to thinking, and I started to think about education. I go, well, doctors, the old Western doctors, a lot of them got their education through the mail. So I thought, well, maybe this is valid. Maybe there's more to this than what my wife is telling me. Maybe there's a misunderstanding here. And the more I thought about it, the more I started to think those degrees could be valid. And then I started realizing a lot of our degrees that were coming out of our prescribed universities, these people didn't have any idea what they were doing because these kids didn't go to school to necessarily be honest. They cheated their way through. They had fake. The questions were there. They cheated on their tests. And I said, I know a lot of people who went to college that were still pretty uninformed. So I started thinking more and more about this education. So I pulled up those degrees again. I looked at them, and I started looking at what they had put as far as what I had achieved. Well, about 60% of what they were saying was things I had accomplished. And I go, well, that's pretty good. I think I can validate myself based on my life's experiences, my life skills. But then there were some things in there that I really didn't know anything about. So I eventually came up with the thought of learning. I said, if they're going to give me a degree based on these subjects, I better study these subjects. So then I did. I took each one of those subjects that, like Ayurvedic medicine or food or diets. I didn't know anything about that, but I knew a lot about nutrition because I'd been in the health and fitness business since 1963, 64. And so I started educating myself. And the more I learned, the closer I got to actually living up to what they had said I was in this original doctorate in holistic studies, in my original research. So I started feeling better about that. I went on to Shepherd University's site, still not knowing anything about them because it was, you can make a site say anything you want it to say. And I was not really happy with what I was seeing, so I contacted them. I said, your site does not look professional. I said, go to my website, GaryWhiting.com. And at that time, I had a great website. My web designer did such a phenomenal job, and that I had won the Golden Web Award, which I had never heard of, but it was posted on my site that I was a recipient of the Golden Web Award for 2 years in a row for the best maintained, the easiest to go through, and the most informative website. So I told Shepperton to follow my example. I said I didn't want to be associated with a fly-by-night institution. I said, so use mine as an example. Well, 30 days later, something like that, I went onto the website. I go, wow, they've changed their colors. They're following my website. I go, okay. So I felt pretty good about that. So then after all my education, I decided I was going to make these paper mills honest. And that's the difference between fake education and truth education. A lot of people will take these paper mill credentials and knowing nothing about those subjects, and they'll call themselves a doctor, they'll call themselves a whatever, but they don't know anything about it because they themselves are not truthful. So what I did is I took and studied and researched and made it a part of my life, the things that they were saying I was qualified in. So I turned something that was dishonest, perhaps, maybe there's some honesty in there, because they did nail a few things that were pretty accurate about my career in the health and fitness business and working with world-class athletes. So what I did, I turned that around and I studied, and I became what they said I was qualified to be, and to be credited with a doctorate in original research in the field of holistic studies. Well, I got honest recognition from the school of Shiatsu I went through. I received the Outstanding Achievement Award in Oriental Medicine through the use of Shiatsu Anma. I was later on I was inducted in the Massage Therapy Hall of Fame and received the Pioneer Massage Award for my as a bridge builder. And I took my education, I adapted it to the horse, and I built a school and put a bridge in there for people to come over, and I taught them how to be successful. And so I created a very successful school. And so I started feeling pretty good about that PhD. And so I started advertising it. I know doctors from the Orient that they're holistic doctors, but even though they've got the credentials, and they're honest credentials, they're just not recognized in this country. So I could, with a clear conscience, tell people, yes, I do have a doctorate, but it's just not recognized in our system. It's not recognized here. But the doctorate is honest because I put forth the effort to make it honest. So what's my point? Well, honesty, truth. That's what we want in our life. And if we can turn something around and make it truth and honest, then we've done a good thing. Somebody asked me one time, well, what was your thesis in? I said, well, I would have to say my thesis would have been my life's experiences. And so then I got the idea, I'm going to put my life experiences in my program. So I came up with my first in-home study program, 9 chapters, over 340 pages of material, of research that I had done over the years. The best nutrition, the best of everything, the education in music, how music affects horses and people, I mean, these are all my studies. And the thing about having the freedom to go after education like I did was it gave me the freedom to pick my teachers. And pick them I did. My association with world-class athletes allowed me to be in the presence of these great teachers. Their knowledge would take years before it ever got into the education system. So rather than going to an institution of higher learning that stuck a funnel in the top of their students' heads and expected them to memorize without having understanding, I gained understanding through internalizing life skills. So I started putting PhD on my card, and I tell people this is not recognized in this country, nor is some of my teachers from the Orient, are they recognized, but they're honest. Their education is honest. It just doesn't conform to what we have chosen as proper education or acceptable education. So I guess to conclude this, my doctorate, like I said, my thesis is my life. And your life experiences will be your thesis. A wise man once told us college students, you need to write your book. Start writing your book now. And you want to write your story down. And if you do, then you're going to look for truth because you don't want to produce a junk novel. You want to leave something behind for your children so they'll know something about you and things that maybe they don't know now, and maybe you never would get around to telling them. But if you write it down in a book, everybody's life should be something special. So my doctorate is special because I made it honest. Your life can be special if you make it honest. Leave your life's experiences on paper so that when you're gone, your children are going to be able to read your book and know something about their mother or their father that they never knew when you were alive. So, truth, education, that's where we're all going. We want to put truth in our lives, and we don't want to be fakes. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's I don't have a problem putting that PhD on my card because I earned that. I studied. I made it valid. And so that's all I want to talk about today is part 2 on truth education. And maybe we can think about these paper mills a little bit differently. We can make them honest if we want to. That's it. I hope you get something out of this. And that's me. That's all I have to say. Ciao, ciao.